All right. So, first off, let me say this. If you haven't seen Endgame, then you need to see Endgame. Even if you haven't really seen a whole lot of the other Avengers films, or the other just Marvel Universe films, I think that most of the characters are fairly straightforward. You probably do need to see Infinity War since it's kind of the part one of this. But it's still on Netflix as far as I know. So go up there, watch that, and then go tomorrow night or whatever and watch Endgame. It's really good. It just kind of ties everything together, wraps it up real nice, puts a bow on it. There's some good fan service, good character development where you see where some of the characters have come from. You kind of also see into the future as far as kind of where they're going with their characters, which is cool. But it's a really good kind of handoff, kind of passing the baton from who the franchise stars have been to kind of who they're gonna be, which was very satisfying as well. So that's good. Anyway, so I'll talk more about the film at the end of this video. I'll give you a jump off point between then and now. But what I want to talk about right now is the fact that I read a lot of old books, either by or featuring old dead guys. And something that comes up a lot, especially in kind of Reformation age and then like Second Great Awakening age, kind of church history, is that there's a lot of people who become great theologians because they go to seminary, even though they themselves admit they don't think that they were even saved beforehand. In fact, I was reading one in which the man goes to his pastor and says, I want to know more about the Bible. I want to know more about God. How can I know that? And the pastor says, I don't know how to teach you. Basically, you just need to go to seminary, and in the process of seminary, you'll get saved, and then you'll know what you want to know. And I think in a lot of ways, like, that has become the standard in a lot of ways, that you grow up in Sunday school and going to children's ministry stuff where you learn the Bible stories taught to you by anthropomorphized vegetables. And so you know who David and Goliath was, you know who Big Mo is, you know who like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. You have vague understandings of who these people are, but you really can't put the story together. You don't understand how they interlace together to make the fabric of what the Bible is. And you probably could identify, like, well, you know who Paul was, you know that he was Saul, you know who Jesus and the 12 disciples were, we all know who Judas and Peter were. But beyond that, you really don't know anything about the text itself, where the text came from. How do we have the Bible as it's been made? And then people, they go off to college, and let's say that they do end up in a Christian college, a Bible college, or just a community college even. You get into English literature, ancient literature, philosophy, psychology, any of these fields that are just dominated by very liberal, a lot of ways kind of anti-Christian ideas. And of course they lose their faith because they never had one. All they had was this loose smattering of stories they heard as a kid that honestly they could put on the shelf right next to Red Fish, Blue Fish, or one, and any of the other Dr. Seuss films, or like kind of books, and just Cat in the Hat and all. Like, they put them right there because of the fact that they were never given any context really to understand them more. And that frustrates me. That frustrates me a great deal, because I think that is the number one culprit. If we're going to talk about why it is that kids nowadays don't have the values their parents had, it's because we've had multiple generations now of parents that just think that the children's ministry is going to make their kids into Christians, and that just doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. So they can delegate out the responsibility of actually mentoring, discipling their kids to this person that, but honestly, they don't really know anything about. They don't really know at all in any significant way. And then additionally, beyond that, that they don't really know what they're teaching the kids anyway. So I don't know. It's just, I'm kind of ranting about this because I'm mad, frustrated about it. But I think part of it is just, I mean, churches really need to take the job of biblical discipleship far more seriously than they do now, across the board with all of their age groups. Starting first with adults, of teaching them these things, so that when kids come to them with questions, they'll have answers. Well, anyway, enough about that. Let's talk Endgame. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, this is your chance to just kind of click out. You can come back later. The first thing I want to talk about regarding that is Captain Marvel. I did not see Captain Marvel, the film, and the reason for that is twofold. The first and more important reason is that I'm pretty sure everyone in the universe knew that the only reason that that film was made was an introductory kind of thing to introduce people to Captain Marvel as a character, so that she could have her big moments in Endgame and it wouldn't be quite as out of left field, although it still is pretty far out of left field. So there's that. And then, so I saw Endgame. I just jumped past it and saw Endgame. And then the second thing is that Captain Marvel is not that good of a character. I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor: The Dark World either, because I'm just like, well, meh. But Captain Marvel's not that good of a character. At least throughout most of her run, she really doesn't matter in the greater scheme of things. Until you have House of M, she becomes a pretty dominant character, and in that moment, that's when she starts joining the Avengers and doing different things like that. She becomes a little more relevant, and then Civil War II, she becomes the poster child of governmental overreach and the security state. So I mean, she's not a very appealing character to me. So didn't see it, but honestly, it doesn't, it makes it really frustrating. Why? How did she find Tony in the very beginning? Literally, he's out there in the middle of space, and yet she's just able. Does she have some kind of Tony GPS, some Iron Man GPS, Nebula GPS, or something? Because simply, she's never met either of these two characters. So I mean, there's no reasonable understanding how in the world she found them. And then when she has her big climactic entrance scene to the final battle, nobody invited her, essentially. She even said he had about a 2-minute long scene dedicated to how she's out in space, she's never coming back to Earth. Yet, okay, here she is. You could say maybe she responded to the energy signature of the Hulk using the stones, maybe, but I mean, you've put in a 5-second long just scene of her going, energy signature, my energy sense is going off or something, and then have her respond. So I thought it was very forced. It was very forced. And then I have questions about what is the Marvel Universe going to do now that losing a mind like Tony Stark is significant. He figured out time travel, in an evening in his basement. He is a genius. So it's gonna that's a difficult loss as far as just the world is concerned. But seeing him with his daughter was just the most adorable scene. Just saying. But the next thing is at the very end you have you have Cap going back in time. He's supposed to put all the stones back. Very important kind of the intersection of the plot is that the stones need to be put back where they came from. So I think they left the door wide open for them that if they want to have like a little mini series or like a DVD extra thing or an animated series or something like that where that he's going back and having hilarious episodic hijinks of him trying to put the stones back and struggling, that he could do that. But my question now is, how does he put back the Tesseract was stolen by Loki. So when they went back in time, they jumped forward to the 60s, 70s, wherein they end up getting the Tesseract back then and some Pym particles. But how did it end up there when Loki had already stolen it? So, but there's already a branch off in history, which that's its own thing now. But like, how did it end up there? And then so he puts the Soul Stone back, but or the not the Soul Stone, but the Space Stone. But the Space Stone was inside the Tesseract. How did they get it out of the Tesseract? And then how did they put it back in there? So issues. And then so did she stab? Like, did they put the ether back into Natalie Portman's character, Jane Foster? Did they put him back into her? And then how does Captain America return Mjolnir to past Thor? Does he just leave it there and hope that nobody else finds it, or that he just happens to summon it at some point? And then, because if Thor knows that Cap is worthy the whole time, then it would definitely change the narrative at the very least. So, and then the Soul Stone. It's not possible to return the Soul Stone. They dedicate an entire scene in the film to that it's a permanent exchange. Natasha's soul and Gamera's soul, they're in there. So, does that mean that Captain America still has the Soul Stone? And imagine the conversation between him and the Guardian of the Soul Stone, which happens to be Red Skull. Any exchange that they have would not be trusted by freaking Captain America, who defeated him in World War II. So, I got questions. I also have questions about the fact that Cap defeated Captain America, right? In the past, but he did it by touching his heart with with Loki's staff, which every other instance in which that occurs turns the person evil. Hawkeye, that weird doctor guy, like, it turns them evil. So does that mean that Captain America from the past is evil? Is he gonna have to fight himself again in order, like, is this the Hail Hydra Cap? Like, I've got questions. So I think it sets up the thing as well. There's a thing where Natasha and Gamera are inside the Soul Stone. I think there's a little bit of a setup possibly there for there being a team-up film between the two of them where they're breaking out of the Soul Stone. And that it would be really cool if you have the backup or the kind of the backstory film of Widow is not really a prequel as much as that it's her consciousness wrestling with her inner demons of her past and going through, like, kind of chronologically of the things that she did and the things that happened to her as well, so that in the long run, that in dealing with those things and kind of reconciling with them, that she can actually grow as a person, and that by doing so gives her the power to break out of the Soul Stone. That would be cool. So I think that's kind of the setup. But seriously though, Cap, hilarious hijinks, putting the stones back, I would watch that movie. So if you made it this far, that means either you have seen it or you don't care about spoilers, so get over yourself. And I don't know if you have other thoughts about it, or if you have opinions, like what your greatest or what your favorite part of the film was, or theories about Christian education, and I don't know, just whatever happens. I don't know. I guess I'll see the next Marvel film.